Hello, it's Monday, so it's time for another episode of your favorite podcast, I hope, the Indie Founder Podcast, where we speak about entrepreneurship, bootstrapping, indie making, a bit of life, everything. Today's episode will be about how the mindset can change the way you make business and the way you sell yourself. And it changes depending on a lot of things, but one is your culture, where you grew up, what continent, what country that actually affects you. So we're going to be exploring those topics in this episode, and as well I will be sharing a bit of some things that I've learned recently by interacting with different entrepreneurs, people that I respect a lot, and I will also share a bit of some details on a new project that my co-founder and I are working on, which is not at all related to SaaS. It's something in advertising, so it's we are kind of flying a bit out of our comfort zone, but I think it's also relevant here to talk about. But before we do start this episode, if you want to support the Indie Founder podcast, there's a few ways for you to do it. One is giving a review, a 5-star review on this episode and this podcast. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, just scroll up and there's a star button, click there. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, just hit the like button and subscribe. That will be perfect. If you want to chat with me, almost sounds like a song. If you want to chat with me, maybe I'm missing out on an incredible career as a songwriter. If you do want to chat with me, the best way to do it is through Twitter. My handle is WBETiago, and you can shoot me a DM. And I will also share my LinkedIn. I've been using LinkedIn a lot these days. I think it's becoming a really cool platform. So you can also just connect there. But I think Twitter is really, really the best way to talk. Okay. So how will I start this episode? I will start this episode with a story. So in my co-working space, which is a place where I basically work every day, it has been a life-changing investment, at least for me and for my personality type, because I really like to be around other entrepreneurs, other people. I was there working, and these two guys were kind of being a bit loud, and they approach us and they give us some cookies. Hey, do you want some cookies? And we said, yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And they were clearly German because they were speaking German. And as you know, I lived in Germany, so I can detect it. I'm not a super good speaker, but at least I can detect when someone is speaking German. So they gave us some cookies. We said, okay, thank you very much. And we were nice to them. So they gave us more cookies. And suddenly we were just having a full blown conversations in the middle of the pulpit. And I always feel a bit bad when we're having these like loud conversations because there's other people talking. But it was a Friday evening, so I think it was fine. So they were telling us that they are German, but they live in Portugal and they love Portugal and it's amazing, the weather, blah, blah, blah. But then we started speaking about the business culture. And they said that something that is really interesting. They said that it seems that Portuguese people, they have this lack of confidence, self esteem. If you, and then they spoke about this survey that they did where they would ask different students that were about to graduate about what kind of salaries they were hoping to have in their first job. So they asked the Portuguese, Germans, the Brits, French, all around. And it was very interesting to see the difference between the prices that the Portuguese were asking and the prices that the German were asking. In Germany, they would say, well, for my first job, the salary it would need to be at least 2,500, 3,000. Whereas the Portuguese would be happy with 1,000, 1,100, something like that. A huge discrepancy, even if it was for the same exact job. And they were very puzzled with this, like, how? Why is this happening? Like, are are like your schools telling that you should ask for more or less? Like, what's going on? Why is there such a difference between the Portuguese mindset and the German mindset? And to be honest, I told them what I'm telling you, which is I don't know. I, it's a cultural thing. But now, why is that the culture involved to be so constraining, to just kind of lowball people's motivation and expectation? But this has been something that I have noticed a lot, especially living abroad and having friends that never lived outside of Portugal. It's very hard even to explain to them that even within your own continent, even within the European Union, there's amazing salaries and work conditions, and the work life balance is amazing. It's hard to explain this because they never lived it, and all around them people have this mindset that okay, that's the salaries, that's the maximum you can ask. You need to work at least 9 hours or more per day, and this is normal. So that it's one of my biggest frustrations, to be honest, here in Portugal, like not being able to help. And they even said like, "Hi, you guys, you," like pointing to us that we lived abroad and return, like you can move or change things, but how? There's too many people around. So here you can see how the mindset, it's only the mindset, because if the Portuguese people go abroad, they are really good workers. We work really well. We're smart, we're able to adapt. And there's a lot of Portuguese people that go abroad and they become very successful. So why is that when you are around this little bubble that you constrain yourself, you restrain yourself? And I was thinking, if this would also apply for business, like would this mean that just because I myself and my co-founder, we are working from Portugal within this bubble, this mindset, this is also affecting our possibility. It's constraining us. Is that even possible? So I think it is. And it's funny because if you go and you talk with one, which is the top economies in the world, which is the US, the mindset, the business there, the business mindset is completely different. So for Podsquiz, right, our startup, we sell a lot for the US. They have been our first customers, and I think more than 50% of our customers are from the US. And one thing that I've noticed right from the start, right from like our first user interviews, is that most of our customers were single or maximum two people's company. So like we are working with B to small b almost. But even so, they were small. Even so, they were not a huge company, a huge corporation. Even so, maybe they were not even making a lot of money from their business. They would invest heavily on their podcast. They would invest heavily on their business. So, what happens a lot in our industry is that if you have a company, let's say a coaching company, you would have a podcast as kind of a marketing source, a way for you to find leads. And here in Portugal, if people would create a podcast, they would think, okay, let's create something. I will just buy a microphone and I'll learn how to edit. I will try to do my best because I don't want to hire someone to do this. Most people will not hire someone to do this. In the US, it's not like this. They really believe in their project. So the moment they start a podcast, they hire a producer, they hire like an editor, they hire like a social media person, and it would be very common to go into one of these meetings with our clients, and they would have their assistant there and their editor there, and you could see that their podcast was having maybe 10, 20 views per episode, but they would still invest, which is it's incredible for me. It's such a different mindset. I think that one thing that I've been noticing is that having a business in the US is much more appreciated, and it's taken seriously. Whereas like a little project, a little hobby here in Portugal would be considered a job almost, a project, a company in the US. So let me give you another example. Recently, I've met guy is in his 50s, and it's a really great case study because he was born here in Portugal. His family is Portuguese, and when he was 5, they moved to the US. So he has been living all of his life almost in the US. So he's American, like the mindset, and he did great things. He eventually, worked in media and did really great things in top, C-level positions. And now he's kind of returning to Portugal. I mean, he's obviously still all of his life is in the US, but he has some projects in Portugal, including a podcast. So I reached out because I thought, okay, this is a person that maybe, we can work together, can connect us with right people in the US and so on. And I got to speak with him a little bit. And it's so interesting to see the way he moves, the way he thinks about business, like how seriously they take like business for them is something, it's part of their life, it's part of their identity. For instance, here in August, especially in August, the whole summer, but especially in August, everything stopped. Like literally, it's impossible to do business in August. Like most people go on holiday and so on. And for him, this was crazy. They're like, no, how is this possible? Like in the US, they're always like it seems that he always had like meetings and projects and starting a new podcast and starting buying a house and doing million things. And it was cool. It was really cool to like interact with him. And one other thing that I realized is that for him, and I'm not generalizing, but maybe this is something that is part of the American culture, is to be able to monetize, to capitalize on everything, on things that on their skills. They're able to like create products out of their skills and ask for money, and they are not afraid to like really ask for what it's worth. And this not does not mean that they will trying to scam people or they'll try to ask for crazy evaluations. No, they are very aware of the value that whatever they are bringing to the table is producing and delivering. They are really aware of their value, and they are not afraid to ask to be paid accordingly. So I feel that just by being around this mindset, I could become a much better entrepreneur. One new project that we are starting, it's called Odiva Media. And the reasoning behind this was multiple. One being that we have SaaS, we have tech products, but especially with AI and everything, like we don't really know what's the future of tech. So we want to diversify. So we decided, since we are in the podcasting space, to try to start something that we know makes a lot of money outside of Portugal, which is getting to advertising. So most of the money that is made in podcasting is made in advertising. And there are multiple models that we can apply here, but the one we decided to apply is to create a podcasting network. How does this work? We will gather around podcasts, independent podcasts here in Portugal, and we will say, hey, we'll select them based on their views, based on their quality, which is already really great because instead of us trying to create podcasts for ourselves, which we never know if they will have success and it's a lot of work, we can just pick the ones that we already know they are having success. So we say, hey, you join our network. It's called the Odiva Media Network. You join us. It's for free. And like, there's no reason not to join. It's for free. You just join. You don't have any commitment to us. We'll just add you to our website. And what we'll do is that we will sell advertising for you. Okay? So there's a huge problem here in Portugal, which is it's really hard for advertisers, especially indie podcasts, I mean, to be able to find brands that are willing to sponsor them. And we believe there are brands that are willing to sponsor podcasts, and we need to do that bridge. So that's kind of the problem we're trying to solve. and we decided to start investing on this. And that's kind of the idea. We started the idea, unfortunately, in August, so it was really hard to get brands because everyone was on holiday. But we got a lot of podcasts to join the network. We have a website and everything. So again, because we are bootstrappers, we're really fast. Like, we have, if there's something that we have learned, is how to like build something fast that looks good. So now we are in the phase of kind of negotiating with companies. But this time we are negotiating big deals and like trying to negotiate deals that start with at least $3,000 or euros, and we want more. We want 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 deals, and then we take a commission. Basically, the way the business model is, okay, we ask the podcasts how much they want to make, and then we put a commission on top. And the value we bring to the brands is that they we give them a network effect, right? So they can advertise through us, and instead of having to negotiate with each one of their these podcasts, they just negotiate with us, and we make sure that all these podcasts collaborate and like make the ads and so on. So that's kind of the whole value, which I think it's a business that makes sense. It's not something new, something that it's, it happens a lot in the US and so on. Make companies that make millions, but we are getting into this mindset on how to sell this. And this guy that I was telling you about, the Portuguese-American guy, he told me something that I didn't fully understand until I met him. Then I could see it, which is, he was complaining that here in Portugal people don't see advertising as a product. I didn't understand that. Like, what does this mean? I mean, sure, people pay for advertising. So now when I talked with him, we were having a meeting and he opened his laptop and said, "Hey, Tiago, here you can see all the little things we charge our clients when they try to advertise in podcasts." Because he had like also a company where they did this. The company was making millions. And then there was a list of at least, I don't 15 items. So pre-roll ads, mid-roll ads. You pay extra if if the host rather reads the ad and makes something personalized. Then he says, okay, social media posts, that's also paid, but you also want them to share, right? So it should be a bit cheaper. And there were items upon items. Okay, now they also have a newsletter, will also be in the newsletter. It will be a premium slot, or it will be the single sponsor of this slot. So his mindset of selling this as a product and the way he packaged it, okay, you immediately had like a bunch of visuals or people could see where the brand would show. It's really, really cool. It was really cool to see. Like, yeah, okay, now I get it. Advertising, it's a product. It's something almost tangible that brands can feel and say, okay, this is what I'll be paying for. And at the same time, he was very like chilled guy, very down to earth. So that's amazing. I think that's really the balance that there is with the mindset in the US, where they know their worth. Again, they know how to sell themselves, but at the same time, they also know that they need to create value. It's not just about, again, tricking people. So that's basically what we're trying now to do. We're trying to sell this advertising with Odiva. The main issue now is selling, right? Like, reach out. It's the B2B. It's B2B. How to reach out, how to conduct a meeting, how to create a proposal, and then how to close on this proposal. And that's something that now I'm focused on learning. I want to get better at this whole like B2B, because not only for Odiva, but as well for Podsquiz, we are trying to close more and more B2B deals. And for any project I want really in the future, this is a skill, like it's a must have, because a lot of a lot of money, or most of the money, is in these big companies, is in this B2B deal. And if I don't get better at this, I'm missing out on this huge opportunity. So my focus now for the next weeks and months, and it has been as well for the past months, is to become better at the B2B. And I think we have had some great success, especially here in Portugal. Here in Portugal, again, the mindset is a bit different. So if you want to sell something in Portugal, you cannot go straight to the point. You need to kind of build a relationship with the person. And then it's so much easier if you have already other clients here. So the moment, especially when we're selling to big media groups, the moment we start landing 1, 2 clients, the others would see and say, okay, we need to be in. So there's much more this like social network effect. So hopefully this is what will also happen with Audiva. Once we sell the first sponsorships, it will be easier to start selling for other companies and to get more podcasts around and so on, and can build something. But yeah, that was kind of the thought that came to my mind since I met him. Like, am I missing out as an entrepreneur because I'm in Portugal, because I'm not surrounded by people that believe in themselves? I often go here to the Indie Beers, which is a meetup of indie hackers, and most of the people there, they are not full time indie hackers. They probably most of them never built anything. But there's a few of my friends that, man, they have such drive. They really invest in their project. They really believe that they can make a lot of money, millions. And yeah, I love that. I love that mindset. I love that those things. Now, I'm not sure if the mindset that we have here in Portugal is different than the mindset there is in Germany or Netherlands, or if it's like a continent basis, maybe Europe, Asia, Africa, US, America. Maybe it's more based on the continent and not so much the country, but it's interesting that there's, even though maybe the mindset is similar, there's always little cultural things that change. So if I want to sell to France, I need to understand how the French are, and maybe they want to be more direct, whereas the Portuguese or the Italians, you need to kind of build a relationship. So yeah, that's also another thing that I've been learning, which is, okay, if you want to get good at B2B, you need to understand the market. And understanding the market is not only understanding the professional part, is also understanding the culture and how people like interact with each other. Like that's the way for you to sell things. So I'll continue working on this. I'll continue trying to also meet more Americans. Now I'm kind of fascinated for to learn more about the culture and the way as well they talk. I guess if you ever had like any colleague from North America, you know that they always sound so commanding and so authoritative, and that they really understand what they are saying and doing, even though sometimes they don't. So it's also like the way they are able to in kind of conduct themselves and talk, which is something that I definitely want to learn, practice. So yeah, that's now one of my goals: get better at B2B, and I'll be sharing everything I learn here in this podcast with you, so that we can learn together. And if you also have some interesting tips or cool stories as in your B2B career and sales cycle, feel free to shoot me a message at WB Tiago on Twitter, and I would love to read it and maybe share it here as well. If you have any questions, any topics that you think I should as well cover in next episodes, again, shoot me a message. And yeah, that's it for today's episode. I hope it was a good one. If you liked it, make sure to give it a review on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Just hit like, that would be amazing. And yeah, I wish you a lovely indie week. And next Monday, we are back with another episode of the Indie Founder Podcast. Till then, keep shipping.